Hey, what is going on, guys? Back again with another video today. It's been a little bit, but I am back with a new video. Talk about some more Naughty Dog Last of Us stuff, you know, the same type of deal, stuff that I always talk about. This will be an interesting video to talk about since there was a recent article that came out, but, with Naughty Dog currently working on their next title, which we have no clue on what that is. Of course, we can speculate all day about it, whether that's a new IP, Last of Us Part 3, etc., you know, the same type of deal. We're going to be talking about that, well, we could think it is, but there was a recent article that came out from the Los Angeles Times that they got their hands on to talk with Neil Druckmann to talk about the stance of Naughty Dog and what's to be expecting for their titles in coming forward and as a studio from the games that they make. We obviously know that The Last of Us Factions Online was cancelled due to the fact that the studio didn't want to be a live service studio, which is understandable. They're obviously known for single player narrative titles. That's what they've been best at, and I completely 100% agree with their decision on it. As much as I love The Last of Us Factions as a multiplayer title, and as it being a live service title would have been fun as heck. I can imagine just the seasonal drops and everything like that would have been fun. A constant live updates, but you know, I'd much rather prefer a single player title from Naughty Dog over a multiplayer title. I just have to say it. I'm sorry, Factions fans, if you guys have been wanting this for years. I've been wanting it for years, but I prefer a single player title. But anyways, off topic, Los Angeles Times got to interview with Neil Druckmann to talk about the studio and as of where it's going to be standing within the coming future in their next projects. And I thought this was an interesting story to talk about because this definitely gives us sort of an insight as of what we could be expecting for the future, even after their next title, which we still don't know about. But the interview goes on to talk about how Neil kind of came up with the idea of The Last of Us, which we already knew. It was supposed to be a Jak and Daxter sequel, Jak 4, which didn't become to be because it just wasn't what they wanted to do. But Neil, of course, came up with the idea of The Last of Us in his college years, and he explained to Evan Wells, the co-president of Naughty Dog, about this idea of The Last of Us, which, you know, the IP that we know today, which is completely enormous than anything that Naughty Dog would have imagined. Neil went on to the interview and stated this by quote, "I promise you, we will not be The Last of Us studio forever. Numerous games," he said, "are in the works, including multiple single projects." So it's a simple sentence that he stated, but it definitely gives you a lot of stance on what the studio is currently doing right now. As we already know, The Last of Us is a huge franchise, bigger than anything Naughty Dog has ever created in their studio. It's become so mainstream to the point that, we have a TV show, we have, of course, the games. It's just become a huge franchise for the Naughty Dog. But with Neil stating that they will not be The Last of Us studio forever, in some way, I'm kind of glad about. Because, don't get me wrong, I love The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite franchises, one of my favorite games of all time. But I do believe that, as if everyone probably feels as right now, I feel like we should stand back a bit and see what the studio can create next, whether that be a new IP. Heck, I wouldn't mind Uncharted, but a new IP would be definitely something nice to see. But as I understand, there's been a bit of fatigue with The Last of Us in terms of the franchise. It's been around for some time now, but at the same time, it makes sense. It's a huge franchise for PlayStation and Naughty Dog, so there's so much that could be made for this franchise. With the HBO show, the amusement park that they had for Universal Studio, there has been a lot of Last of Us stuff that's been out as of recently, and yeah, I felt that fatigue for sure. I love The Last of Us as a franchise and in a series, but it's definitely become hugely mainstream, and that's not an issue, but I definitely like to see Naughty Dog shine a bit more on some other properties, or at least a brand new property in general. So if anything, I'm glad that The Last of Us has gone as big as it has. I love the fact that everyone has at least seen it or know about it and by now, because when The Last of Us, of course, first came out, when I played it back in 2013, no one knew about it. Obviously, if you're into video games, you obviously would have heard The Last of Us or know about it. But now it's gone to the point that my family members know what The Last of Us is. So it's insane how big this franchise has become. So, like I said, I'm at least glad that Neil has at least approached this topic to say that either not going to just be a Last of Us studio only, but of course we've known as fans that they're of course making new stuff. They aren't just going to work on The Last of Us only. Yeah, they've been making a lot of Last of Us content recently, but we know that something new will be coming up from them eventually. He did also mention that they are working on multiple single player projects, which, you know, that's pretty interesting to take a look on. We could, of course, speculate on those, whether that be the quote-unquote rumored new IP, which is most likely could be what they're working on right now, and then eventually The Last of Us Part 3, and who knows what's next. I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing to think about, considering the fact that The Last of Us is a huge franchise for Naughty Dog, and I imagine they do want to go out with a final conclusion to the story, just like they did with Uncharted at some point. It probably won't be for a long while. We can only assume it's a new IP, is what's coming next from them. But either way, this was just an interesting thing to think about, considering the fact that they have been with The Last of Us for about 10 years now. And it's about to be 11 years now, in about 1 or 2 weeks for the 11th anniversary, which, wow, time just goes by so fast. But yeah, The Last of Us is a well-known franchise for PlayStation and Naughty Dog, so it is weird to think that it's gonna probably end eventually, probably in the next 5 or 7 years, who knows, till the next installment. Or even then, who knows, maybe we can even get a spin-off game, if anything, because Neil has talked about that in the past before as well, but we'll just have to wait and see. But alrighty guys, that is it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys some brief discussions on Naughty Dog and where they stand in terms of a studio and what's next for the studio after The Last of Us. We'll be uploading a new video later on, possibly this week or next week, on something unrelated to The Last of Us, but Naughty Dog related, so be on the lookout for that. But until then, I will see you guys next time.